eased when the numbers are low enough, but still won't reveal what the magic numbers are.
We do a lot of planning in advance, and we're continually refining, targets.
It's critically important that we don't move too quickly. This is what happened back in May and June. We eased the restrictions too quickly and the pandemic got out of control.
But rumours of longer lockdowns have businesses fuming.
If we keep going on the same path that, the Premier's putting us on, I don't think hardly any restaurants are going to survive in Victoria, and it's heartbreaking.
Daniel Andrews just wants to extend stage 4 and give us nothing back in return. It's just bloody unfair.
These are really challenging decisions to make because the tolerance for getting it wrong is incredibly low.
The Premier's always said he won't ease restrictions based on dates, only case numbers. And today's triple-figure increase means there's a real possibility Melburnians could still be under stage 4 for a few weeks yet. But while there's so much uncertainty, authorities have ruled out a return to postcode lockdowns. The rest will have to wait until Sunday. Bridget Rollison, ABC News, Melbourne.
And we'll have special coverage of the Victorian Government's roadmap out of lockdown announcement this Sunday from 8 a.m. Eastern on the ABC News channel. Queensland has made it clear the border will remain closed until New South Wales gets through at least 28 days with no community transmission. Gladys Berejiklian has scoffed at the plan, calling it a tall order. The two premiers have finally spoken about the border issues, but Anastasia Palaszczuk is refusing to budge. Here's Ashley Raper.
The border remains closed, but at least a line of dialogue has opened.
The conversation with the Queensland Premier yesterday was polite and constructive.
Queensland, though, is holding the line.
The trigger to open the border to New South Wales is when they have had 2 incubation periods of no community transmission. 28 days of no community transmission.
It's a pretty tall order. I don't know anywhere on the planet where a society can function openly and productively during a pandemic and give an assurance that you're going to have 0 cases of community transmission for a prolonged period.
So the Premier is offering her own advice.
If you have confidence in your health system, if you have confidence that contact tracing is something you can do within your state, there shouldn't be a reason for you to keep your border closed.
It would be much harder for us to manage outbreaks, clusters like the one that we are, if we had cases coming in from other states. And so it's really important. Those border restrictions are really important.
In New South Wales, there are 12 new cases of coronavirus. 3 are returned travellers in hotel quarantine, while another 3 are from an unknown source. The CBD cluster has 3 more cases, taking the total to 52. There's also another case connected to St Paul's Catholic College in Greystanes, 1 more from Girraween Public School, and a new case at Regent's Park Christian School. 1 mystery case is outside Sydney. An infection has surfaced in parks in the Central West. A health alert has also been issued for a church at Preston's in southwestern Sydney. Anybody there for the 12:30 service on Sunday has been ordered to isolate immediately for a fortnight. The political posturing this week between the premiers of New South Wales and Queensland is a precursor to tomorrow's National Cabinet meeting, where it's expected the Prime Minister will push to phase out border controls. The argument is economic, and with New South Wales taking the biggest hit out of the states, there's a lot at stake.
The ongoing border closures does impact many things, including domestic travel, including business opportunities, including tourism and hospitality, where a lot of younger people are employed.
During April, May and June, the New South Wales economy contracted by almost 9%. Ashley Raper, ABC News.
Aged Care Minister Richard Colbeck has suffered a reprimand from the Senate for his handling of the deadly virus outbreaks in nursing homes. The censure doesn't carry any penalty, but it capped off a pursuit of the minister that ran for a fortnight and ended tonight, with Parliament rising for a 4-week break. National Affairs correspondent Greg Jennett is at Parliament House.
When will you resign?
If a question won't force a beleaguered minister's hand...
What I will continue to do is the work that we have been doing.
Marshal the numbers...
The matter is resolved in the affirmative.
...and wrap his knuckles that way.
The country has lost confidence in this minister. He has lost the confidence of the Parliament.
A torrid 2 weeks for Richard Colbeck ended in a Senate censure, a form of condemnation that carries no direct consequence, with the only person who could sack him.
That is not a new thing. John Howard was censured by the Senate. Paul Keating was censured by the Senate.
Former Prime Minister Paul Keating joined us.
He's survived to go another round.
Look, you've got me on here, Fran, because I've done this before.
Paul Keating was the last Treasurer to lead Australia into recession, back with ideas on how to lead out of this one.
What we've got to do is support people on the way through. What we've got to do is see the wave into the beach, you know. What the government shouldn't do is do the dumper.
Translated into current-day political messaging.
It makes no sense whatsoever to cut JobKeeper, cut JobSeeker, cut wages.
The Treasurer's already got the green light to reset and reduce JobKeeper subsidies. He's moving on.
You'll have to wait to budget.
Publicly backing every argument for fast-tracking personal income tax cuts.
Tax cuts put more money into people's pockets, and more money into people's pockets means more spending.
Worth around $4 billion, the next round of tax cuts were due in 2022, but look set to come sooner. Parliament's done its job extending JobKeeper, and now almost everyone's heading home or in some cases into quarantine. That leaves National Cabinet to tackle border barriers tomorrow, and the government 4 weeks to pull the budget together. In this recession, the toughest economic forecasting project attempted in decades.
To reporting that.
Have you webinars? But a COVID-safe Parliament is proving it can adapt. Its remote video system held up against mischievous mics from afar.
There's an answered one for 12 months. This issue. Now, Mr. Speaker.
If it persists, you might find yourself disconnected.
House rules don't tolerate digital disruption. Greg Jennett, ABC News, Canberra.
A Sydney judge has described as calculated and hateful the murderous actions of Leonard John Warwick, the family court bomber. Today, Warwick was told he will die in prison for his crimes. He repeatedly attacked the family court with 3 murders and a series of bombings that left judges and lawyers fearing for their lives. It's taken more than 3 decades, but police say justice has finally been served.
The vengeance had never before been seen in Australia. Disgruntled litigant Leonard John Warwick directed his rage at the private lives of family court judges between 1980 and 85.
The conduct of the offender was calculated, violent and hateful.
The motive? Retribution against those he irrationally considered wronged him during a feud with his ex-wife. Warwick shot dead Justice David Oppas on his Sydney doorstep and planted bombs that killed Justice Ray Watson's wife Pearl and Jehovah's Witness minister Graham Wykes. He had decades of freedom before his 2015 arrest, while his victims were left waiting for justice.
That's 35 years that my husband didn't have. Yeah, so nothing makes up for that.
The judge placed Warwick's crimes in the highest level of seriousness, warranting 3 terms of life imprisonment without parole for the 73-year-old.
A sustained period of violence aimed at an Australian court and its judges cannot be viewed as anything other than an attack on the very foundations of Australian democracy.
I hope that we can start to mend now.
You can't explain the feeling.
Very special.
Yeah, just a special time.
Warwick made no reaction as he learned his fate through a video link today, the same link that was being watched by relatives together here at the Parramatta Police headquarters. He did have the chance to make submissions to the court before his sentence, but he turned that down. Instead, he simply instructed his lawyer that he maintains his innocence.
But the bell of justice has finally been rung, and it's ringing out loudly.
I would like to thank everyone who's contributed to today.
It's not a good club to be in, but yes, we're a family.
The man who forced them into that club was told he will never be released. Jamie McKinnell, ABC News, Sydney.
Donald Trump has been slammed by his presidential rival for failing to have a proper plan to open schools safely. Joe Biden called the issue a national emergency. For many parents and teachers across the United States, it's not been a clear and easy choice, with coronavirus infections the highest in the world. Chief Foreign Correspondent Philip Williams reports from Washington.
In Washington, D.C., primary school teacher Lauren Tate and her son are preparing to return to school from summer break. But like many states and territories, it's back to virtual learning for all the capital's public schools.
Hopefully, things will be better. If not, that we just stay home until they are.
Yeah, I miss being with my friends. I miss it.
In nearby Virginia, it will be kind of back to normal for the Dow Lawrence family, Reagan, JJ and Carter will soon return to the classroom, but each desk at their private school will be contained within a plexiglass pod. Students will learn and lunch inside their protective bubble.
I wouldn't be surprised if, in the flu season here in the US, when that kicks off in November, if we're back to virtual learning again.
I'm kind of ready to get back to the school environment and not really much at home.
Some teachers are worried not enough is being done to protect them from infections. Primary school teacher Ashley Newman has quit her dream job teaching 5th grade in Georgia rather than risk her family's health.
15. If the teachers aren't safe, then the students aren't safe, and then the community isn't safe. It's a ripple effect.
With the world's worst death toll and 1,000 Americans dying every day, many are sceptical of President Trump's demand the schools reopen.
They do very well. I mean, they don't get very sick. They don't catch it easily. I think schools have to open. We want to get our economy going.
President Trump still doesn't have any real plan for how to open our schools safely. No real plan.
This whole school issue could be the making or breaking of President Trump. And already some schools that have reopened have had to close again because of coronavirus. Caught in the middle, 60 million children and many millions more parents just trying to do their best, educate their loved ones and keep everyone safe. Philip Williams, ABC News.
The ABC understands Queensland